The British Royal Marines have concluded Exercise Arctic Tide in the frozen fjords of northern Norway, closing one of the most demanding phases of this year's Tarassis operation, a massive joint expeditionary force (JEF) exercise involving thousands of personnel from across northern Europe. This latest iteration of Arctic Tide was not just a show of force, it was a meticulous rehearsal of how to fight, survive, and sustain operations in one of the world's most unforgiving environments. For the United Kingdom, the exercise served as a crucial test of amphibious warfare in Arctic conditions and demonstrated how the Royal Marines, together with their Norwegian counterparts, can project and maintain combat power deep inland under sub-zero temperatures. At its core, Exercise Arctic Tide was about readiness and endurance. While NATO's presence in the high north has long been a deterrent against potential adversaries, the conditions there are brutal and require unique expertise to master. The Royal Marines, renowned for their specialization in cold-weather warfare, were joined by Norway's elite troops to refine the full spectrum of Arctic operations, from covert amphibious insertions to the continuous resupply of raiding teams operating far from the coast. These missions, often carried out behind notional enemy lines, test the capacity to sustain combat effectiveness when traditional supply routes are limited or disrupted. By combining traditional logistics methods with uncrewed systems, the Marines demonstrated that they can keep fighting in isolation and sustain operations long enough to pave the way for larger forces. Serving as the afloat headquarters for the operation, the Royal Fleet Auxiliary Ship RFA Lime Bay played a central role in coordinating amphibious maneuvers. From its decks, 350 sailors, soldiers, and Royal Marines launched small raiding craft into the icy waters, enduring long transits in biting Arctic winds before conducting their missions ashore. The challenges were immense: freezing temperatures, unpredictable weather, and mountainous terrain that complicates every movement. Yet it is precisely these challenges that make the high north such a vital training ground. The experience gained here cannot be replicated elsewhere, and each iteration of Arctic Tide pushes the Royal Marines to refine their tactics, resilience, and logistical creativity. Exercise Tarassis, under which Arctic Tide was conducted, is the largest joint expeditionary force activity to date. It spans the high north and the Baltic regions and involves multiple domains: land, sea, air, space, and cyber. The JEF, led by the United Kingdom, includes 10 northern European nations that have committed to rapid collective response in times of regional crisis. The importance of this coalition lies in its flexibility. It can operate under NATO command or independently, depending on the situation. During Tarassis, the Estonian Navy assumed control of British P-2000 patrol boats operating in Tallinn Bay, proving that Allied forces can seamlessly integrate their command structures. Simultaneously, amphibious forces in Norway rehearsed seizing and holding strategic coastal areas, effectively preparing the terrain for subsequent large-scale landings. The synergy between the Arctic and Baltic operations was no coincidence. The two theaters are closely linked in NATO's strategic calculus, as control of the northern maritime corridors is essential for reinforcing Europe's eastern flank. The Arctic provides access routes and logistical corridors that connect the Atlantic to the Baltic Sea, and any disruption in this area could threaten NATO's ability to respond quickly to aggression. By demonstrating that the Joint Expeditionary Force can operate in both regions concurrently and in coordination, the exercise sent a clear signal of unity and readiness. The message was simple yet powerful: any threat to Northern Europe would face a rapid, integrated, and sustained Allied response. For the Royal Marines, Arctic Tide represented more than an exercise, it was a proving ground for new technologies and concepts. The Commando Logistic Regiment experimented with integrating uncrewed aerial vehicles and autonomous delivery systems to support teams dispersed across remote terrain. This approach to logistics aims to extend the endurance of small, mobile units, turning short-term raids into prolonged operations with continuous resupply. The blend of manned and unmanned systems ensures that critical equipment, ammunition, and medical supplies can reach frontline teams even in contested or denied environments. This is a major step forward in transforming the commando force into a lighter, more agile, and self-sustaining expeditionary formation. Norwegian participation was equally significant. As one of NATO's leading Arctic nations, Norway brings decades of experience in cold-weather warfare and terrain navigation. The collaboration between British and Norwegian forces strengthened mutual understanding and interoperability. In a real-world scenario, these two nations would likely form the core of any Allied response in the Arctic, and exercises like Arctic Tide ensure that such cooperation is second nature. The joint training also underscores how smaller, highly trained units can deliver outsized effects through speed, stealth, and precision, especially when backed by robust logistics and maritime support. From a broader perspective, Arctic Tide and the wider Tarassis exercise highlight a fundamental shift in how NATO approaches deterrence in the high north. The emphasis is no longer solely on mass or numbers but on adaptability, endurance, and distributed capabilities. Small, autonomous teams capable of striking quickly and sustaining themselves over time present a more unpredictable challenge for any potential adversary. By mastering this model, the UK and its allies can operate across vast, austere environments and maintain a persistent presence that complicates hostile planning. Geopolitically, the implications extend far beyond Norway's rugged coastline. Control and accessibility of Arctic routes are increasingly seen as critical to Europe's energy security and freedom of navigation. The region's proximity to key undersea communication cables and pipelines adds another layer of strategic importance. By conducting these large-scale operations in the high north, NATO nations reaffirm their commitment to protecting not only territory but also the vital infrastructure that underpins Western economies and defense systems. The ability to deploy and sustain amphibious forces in this environment enhances deterrence by making clear that any interference with these assets would meet a coordinated and capable response. For the Royal Navy and its commando force, Arctic Tide is also part of a broader modernization journey. The focus on integrating uncrewed systems, strengthening logistics resilience, and improving interoperability aligns with the UK's Future Commando Force initiative, which seeks to reshape the Marines for modern warfare. This vision centers on smaller, faster, and smarter operations, using precision, mobility, and technology rather than large-scale invasions. The experience gained in Norway feeds directly into this transformation, ensuring that future deployments will be even more effective and self-sufficient. Ultimately, the success of Exercise Arctic Tide lies in its demonstration of endurance as the new measure of credibility. The Royal Marines and their partners have shown that they can insert rapidly, fight effectively, and remain operational for as long as the mission requires, even in the harshest Arctic conditions. Their actions illustrate that deterrence is no longer about waiting for reinforcements but about maintaining a constant, ready presence that can act at a moment's notice. By combining cutting-edge logistics with old-fashioned toughness, the UK's elite amphibious forces continue to embody NATO's northern resilience. As Tarassis draws to a close, the lessons learned will shape future deployments across Europe's northern flank. The exercise has proven that the alliance can synchronize operations from the Arctic Circle to the Baltic Sea, delivering a unified response across multiple domains. It also reinforces that sustainability and flexibility are the true hallmarks of 21st-century military power. The frozen waters of Norway have once again become the stage for testing Allied strength and adaptability, and the verdict is clear: the Royal Marines and their NATO partners are ready to move fast, stay the course, and defend the high north under any conditions.